The only other things that came out of it, well, this really led to this. I bet that MMA meeting didn't know we were going to get into this. But in any case, the other thing is they have a, I don't know if this is good news or not. There is a new, I'll call it division in the Department of Energy Resources. It is called Engineering, Technology, and Innovation. And this deals a lot with working with ISO New England and the grid, because we're still dealing with in New England, when I say New England is still dealing with the problem of the peaks. And with the decrease in megawatts with Pilgrim and Brayton Point, obviously they have replacement energy for the megawatts that will be lost when those plants close. However, they're still working on addressing the peak, and one of the things that this division is supposed to be looking at is storage. I don't know what kind of batteries you'd have, but anyhow, so that's where all of that came down today as far as the MMA meeting. The other stuff that I have, I'll just give it to you piecemeal as I get a chance to go through this, but that was basically the meeting we had today. We will be talking about the NPDES permits probably next month. We've asked DEP to give us a summary of their proposal to take primacy on this so that we can bring it back to our communities and let the boards know. Now, this is the latest, and they're looking to see if they can get support. This isn't going to happen overnight either, but the umbrella of the EPA will always be there. So the Federal Clean Water Act, in effect, will still rule. So it was a good meeting today. We got through a lot of stuff. We got a lot more to do on these topics.
Do you want these copies, or do you want them to go to the clerk? Give them
I'll put these, I'll try to do a little bit more here so I can put something on this, just as a cover sheet.
Thank you.
Or a summary or something, whatever.
Yeah. And we will be at the MMA Legislative Breakfast at Berkeley Town Hall at 8 o'clock on Friday morning.
And from what I understand, the presenter will be John Robertson, who is the legislative, I'll call him the guru. Mm-hmm. He's the man that was in Rehoboth.
In Rehoboth, yeah.
And he came in and sat through our meeting today. Oh, so when he goes out to the legislative meetings, he will also be talking about what happened at our meeting today so that people are aware. Because everyone's concerned about the NPDES. And as I said, for those who haven't been shocked yet, when they find out what's in those permits and after they gasp, then they'll be talking about what do we do now. So hopefully we'll have some solutions. But.
Next on the agenda, acknowledgements. We do have an anonymous donation in the amount of $32 to the Council on Aging. To the Board of Selectmen from Alice Souza, a $32 donation was made to the Council on Aging and was deposited. Town accountant and the town treasurer have been notified.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we acknowledge the anonymous donation of $32 to the Council on Aging.
I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? None being, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Public input. Yes, sir.
Brexit Raffles, 4112 North Street. I know it's a sensitive topic, so I totally understand if you guys don't want to comment or can't comment. Many people expressed dismay regarding the way the school committee conducted their meeting last night. Part of that was due to the high volume of people that attended the meeting, a lot more than usual. So my question is, where does the board stand, if you have a position at all or any comments regarding not the negotiations, because we know that that's private between the teachers union and the school committee, but rather the way that the school committee is conducting their meetings?
Did you go to that meeting last night?
I did not. I had to work.
I don't think it was televised either, so I didn't.
I don't believe it was either.
Because it wasn't in the live media center. Or at least part of it wasn't.
They moved it. Some people
Where they
there.
moved it, there was no video, I guess, so.
Exactly.
able to broadcast.
I would say this, as just as an individual member, as far as the position of the board, I don't know if we have a unified position on this, but I will say this as a member of this board. A public servant has a great responsibility. Our school committee has a responsibility for approximately 65% of the revenue that we pay in taxes. More than half of the budget, close to 2/3. Needless to say, public oversight of what the school committee does is important. And when it is called to the committee's attention that some step has been missed in making public oversight possible, all of us, our board, any board, we've had situations. We once posted an agenda that had an abbreviation in it and received a nasty gram from the Attorney General because we had abbreviated in a meeting agenda, and it can't be. So all of us have this responsibility. That said, I would refrain from public fault finding with a fellow elected official. However, if I were approached privately by a member of the school board, if I were asked what I thought about how it could have been done better, I would say this. For 2 years, actually 3, starting when I was a water commissioner, I made it a point every year when the Attorney General's people come to Superior Court for an open meeting law class to go. Not much has changed in the law during that time, but I still go because there's some fine points that we may miss. And it's nice to hear in what they're teaching that what you're doing is right, if it is right, as well as to learn what you're doing wrong. So if I were asked, I would say, save yourself the trouble in the future, and when the Attorney General sends his people around, just go up there and take a seat in the back of the room and listen, and you'll find it's not hard, it's not moving mountains, but there are things that we have to do. I think those of us who came out of an earlier culture where the open meeting law was, there was one, but it was not the centerpiece of public affairs that it is today, originally had some trepidation. You'd say, oh my goodness, this onerous, 48 hours prior, you have to post a meeting with an agenda, and then you have to have minutes and so forth, and you say, this is an onerous thing, but, the fact of the matter is, you just comply and it becomes second nature, and you say to yourself, this is pretty good. It really does help. It helps the board as well as the public. It has its advantages. So, I'm not going to castigate the school board. I respect the school committee. I think our children should respect the school committee and the teachers and the principals and the staff. And I don't want to undermine the respect that they have to command in order to be able to do their jobs. But if I were asked, I would say, heck, in the fall, when they send around the Attorney General's open meeting law team, just go up to Superior Court and see what you have to do. You're welcome.
I don't believe this is a Board of Selectmen issue. It's a separate, elected, independent committee. However, just from a procedural standpoint, and not to single out any individual. However, the role of the chairman of any meeting, the person who conducts the meeting, is responsible for making sure it's posted, making sure that the notifications are given, all of that stuff is done. And working with the clerk, the secretary of the board, depending upon how they're structured, you get it done. By the same token, space is important. And we have some flexibility here. If we had an overflow crowd tonight, we could say, we can move downstairs tonight, we gotta put signs up telling anybody that the meeting is downstairs, or we'll have somebody up here to make sure that the public coming in late knows, go downstairs, there's a large group of people. I think if you know ahead of time, you're gonna have a large turnout, like when we're getting ready for whether it's a special town meeting or the annual, we pick a place that we assume will hold the crowd expected. That's all pre-planning, regardless of what kind of a meeting it is. And you have to accommodate the public. It's one thing to have a brief presentation, by brief I mean 10 minutes or less, that a group of people could come in and stand and hear it and maybe have some input, and then they go home and then the rest of the agenda is followed. I really think if this is something, if you're having a presentation that is going to take a longer period of time, you have to make reasonable accommodation for everybody, not only handicapped people or elderly people, for everybody. They should be able to at least sit down and not be sitting on top of one another. Again, it's part of the planning process, so that when I was a chairman and had to be responsible for that, when I served on the finance committee and would communicate with the chairman about what it was to be on the agenda, because most of the time I'm the one who posted the agenda after I communicated with him. And if we had a large turnout, we had an option. We could go downstairs, or maybe this room was being used, so we automatically knew ahead of time, post it for the lower level. So I think a lot of that is basically the ability to plan and carry out whatever kind of a meeting it is. Not having been present, not seeing any part of the meeting, and I know that there is collective bargaining issues. I've seen signs on Route 44 to get people to turn out for meetings and all that. All of those issues are really, I don't feel are within my purview. But as far as conducting a meeting, planning, preparing, getting prepared, I think that's something any of us would do, serving as the person responsible. And it doesn't even have to be a meeting. If you were having a reception in honor of somebody, you'd make sure you had the appropriate circumstances, seating, tables, whatever you needed to carry out whatever the event was. So that's where I'm coming from as far as whatever didn't happen or whatever happened up there last night.
It's a catch-22 position. Neither this board nor the Rehoboth Board of Selectmen, they're gonna be asked, what are you gonna do about this? Or, you know, what happened, everything. But again, it's not our call. It's entirely different. People like yourselves put us three here. People like yourselves put the school committee members there. So the dissatisfaction can't come from what we propose should be done. It has to come from the people that put them there. And I'm not trying to avoid the question.
I agree.
I'm not trying to, curtail it, but it comes to a point that the people who are responsible for putting the board together are also responsible for rectifying the problem. And there's only one way to go about that. So, it was unfortunate. Could it have been handled better? Perhaps. But again, I don't want to go on record by saying they should have done this or they should have done that. What you try to get out of the whole situation, make a bad situation not worse, make it better, and go from there. So,
I think,
What kind of, you know, there's not a lot we can say.
I think for anybody who, any citizen who was not in attendance at the meeting, I think it would be inappropriate for them to comment about how something was conducted or wasn't conducted, simply because if you weren't there, what you're getting is secondhand. It wasn't televised, as far as I know. I put it on 98 and there was nothing there. But anyone who was there, I would have thought would have spoken up. But again, it's up to the host of the party, the chairman of the meeting, whoever is responsible to plan ahead and have appropriate measures to deal with this. I can tell you there have been times when I was on the board before when parents would come to the Board of Selectmen with problems relating to their children in school. And what we said to them was, you must go to the school committee. This board does not have the authority to get involved with whatever the situation was that involved a student at the school. It's just structurally, that's not how it happens. And they are elected officials. They represent the people of the town of Dayton, and I'm talking about our elected officials up there, and Rehoboth does the same thing. But certainly, I can't sit back and say, shouldn't have done that. I mean.
Thank you for asking.
Any other input? Mr. Unwin?
On this similar subject, we've been getting some phone calls tonight. There was an erroneous date. I don't know if you did bring it back up again or not, did you?
Yeah, I was just going to mention it just now.
Okay, there was an erroneous date on the food bank, and it's the, Karen, correct me if I'm right, the 16th?
It'll be March 19th,
March.
the Easter holiday.
Yeah. Because, you know, due to the fact of Easter.
Oh, okay.
So it is a week earlier, so
Is the sign out there yet?
yes, it was put up this morning.
Oh, okay.
March 19th?
All right.
Yes. And then on a lighter subject, cow chip tickets are up.
Great,
Oh, okay, all right.
great.
And say it publicly now.
And you want the dates?
Yes?
June 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The tickets are available at many of the local stores. Those that we, instead of having just members sell them, we did put them out into the stores this year, and we're giving the stores free advertisement, those who carry the tickets in support of the Lions, and should be off to a good event.
Has the schedule for any of the events changed?
Friday night is Woodsman contest. Saturday is,
Fireworks, weather.
yeah, fireworks at the conclusion.
The barbecue.
But the mini tractor pull is Friday, Saturday rather. So that's Sunday, I'm sorry, that is Sunday. The mini tractor pull is
It's gonna be on Sunday?
Yeah. There may or may not be a hot air balloon. I haven't gotten the answer yet. The cow chip and a local band. But most everything else is about the same as it always has been.
So is it too soon to ask you if the Arts Festival is gonna be November the 5th?
If it's the first
Saturday,
Sunday.
Sunday the 6th.
It'll be the first Sunday in November,
November the 6th.
yes.
Okay.
That would be my thought.
Just checking all the things.
Okay, well, then we have an auction coming up too.
That's in April, right?
Yes, down at town garage.
What's the date for that?
Boy, I went too far.
No, that's next month.
Yeah, yeah.
While you get the airtime, you might as well get it out there.
Yeah. Saturday the 16th is the auction down at town garage, rain or shine.
Okay. 9 o'clock for review and 10 o'clock to start, is that it?
Yes. Yes. And there'll be a clam boil, you want to keep going?
I want to hear about this.
Clam boil will be held, the tickets are being hopefully printed tonight. The clam boil is going to be April 22nd, that should be a Friday night at Seacon.
Second of April is a Saturday, April 1st is a Friday.
The 22nd.
Oh,
For the clam
22nd.
boil, and that'll be at Seacon Karate and Gun Club.
Okay.
I think that's all the Lions events that,
That's all they got?
well, that's the Dyke Lions.
Yeah.
I do have another quote.
Well, support for the Lions is certainly support for a lot of worthy undertakings indeed. Okay.
Thank you, Ed.
That's it.
Anybody else?
We have with us tonight Noah Avila, and I have to say this gentleman has distinguished himself in many ways, both in service to his church and so forth, but he has also spearheaded some of the charitable work that is undertaken by our high school students, by the high school and so forth. The food drive, the coat drive, you've done those.
Yep.
What else? I know, the list is long, I'm sure.
I've done a 9/11 service tribute, so pretty much we collected cards, gum, and playing cards for soldiers overseas, and we donated that to the Massachusetts Military Heroes Fund, and they kind of distributed that to Massachusetts soldiers abroad.
And you have your Boy Scout sweatshirt on.
Yep.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about your career in scouting?
I became a scout in 5th grade, and obviously I'm still a scout today, working for my Eagle, and hope that I'll be getting that next year before I turn 18. But basically, this is a really great experience. It's taught me a lot of life skills, survival, and just basically how to be a good citizen of my community and country pretty much.
Do you have a project in mind?
Not as of yet. I was going to be building trails at the high school, but at this time, given how much time I have left to get Eagle, it's just not feasible. But like I'm going to still be working on it.
If you want to do some pre-planning, to give you a lot of stuff, a lot of options, talk to Superintendent Tom Ferry. Because Tom Ferry, he seems to be able to find lots of good projects. And he can tell you some of the things he's got in mind, and you'll have a list besides what you're talking about. And Tom is very involved with the scouts on projects. So no matter what you do, he's a good person to talk to. He's got a lot of experience and he knows how to get things done.
Definitely take note of that.
Yeah?
Thank you.
I have to say, there's a passage concerning aging in the Holy Writ. It goes something like this. Today, you belt up your pants and go where you want to go, and tomorrow somebody puts a belt around you and takes you where you don't want to go. And one night I mentioned this particular passage of scripture, it's rather oblique, in a group, and I was stumped for the reference. And Noah here stepped out for a moment and came back and he handed it to me. So this man knows a great deal about the important things, and I was very impressed. I'll never forget it.
Gotta be careful what you quote.
He had it. Very nice of you to be here, certainly. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
And wish you the best of luck in all your future endeavors.
Noah's one of the people that goes to Honduras.
Yes,
How many
absolutely.
times have you been there?
2, and hopefully my 3rd time in July, or August rather.
That's fantastic.
There's rumors that there's a senior member of this board who is actually not the senior age person, but might be accompanying you.
Yes,
Always a great time.
looking forward to it. God willing.
Thank you.
We may ship them there before you actually.
I think they've got the passport stamped already.
One-way ticket, the whole thing.
Oh, goodness.
Anything else, Patrick?
No, thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Good night, Cable. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you.